In my opinion, the curriculum for Wales is remarkable. It's the first curriculum in the world that's been written by teachers. And I was very fortunate to be one of those 200 teachers. What the curriculum for Wales actually is a framework. It's a framework for you to build your own curriculum upon. You have that freedom. The Welsh Assembly Government have said ultimately that nobody understands your pupils more than you. Nobody understands their Cynefin more than yourselves. And nobody understands education more than teachers. Therefore, you have that freedom to develop your curriculum for your learners. It's a great deal of trust that's been put in our hands. And I think it's vitally important that we use all the resources around us, be they archives, be they museums, be they libraries, in order to bring the past alive for our learners here in Wales then. So if they do trust us as a teaching profession, it's fairly daunting really. But as Mark Priestley, a researcher that's worked with us on the new curriculum itself said, is that although we have the autonomy then, a lot of teachers don't grasp that opportunity, don't step outside them. But if you work with curators, for example, museum curators, archivists, librarians, they'll be able to give you that insight into local history, into the Cynefin, into Welsh history. The new curriculum emphasises areas of learning and experience. And to me, the word experience is vitally important. It's bringing people out to museums, to archives, to bring the subject alive to our learners. There's also an emphasis on Cynefin, local history. And whatever you're teaching in Wales, you want to be the expert on the school and their Cynefin. But you need to do the research to develop a deeper understanding of your learners' Cynefin. And bringing them to a museum, working with archivists, working with librarians to truly understand your pupils' Cynefin, in my opinion, is vitally important. I also emphasise the importance of bringing pupils out. As a teacher myself, I'm aware that it's very, very difficult to bring pupils out, to take them on visits. And that's why working on the curriculum, I emphasise the importance of the world experience. And if you look at the humanities curriculum then, it does discuss that. And it encourages us to take our learners out to the archives, to museums themselves. Because this is where actual research is done. If you consider your pupils and you ask them for example, to do research, they very often Google that information and gather that information in. But if you're a professional researcher, where do you gather that information? You go to the archives, to the county archives, you come to the museums to look at the artwork, to look at the actual documents themselves then, in order to understand them. And bringing pupils here will give them a deeper understanding of their own history. One of the exciting things with the new curriculum for Wales is the emphasis on Black, Asian and minority ethnic history. And in my opinion, it's vitally important we do it from a Welsh perspective. Very often schools would go after this and look at Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and although they are an important part of the story, they don't reflect the story here in Wales then. Here in Carmarthen Museum, for example, this is at the foot of the Picton Monument. This is Picton dying at the Battle of Waterloo, massive hero during the Victorian era. But what actually he did out in the Caribbean as a slave owner was terrible. These are the stories in which we should emphasise to our learners. With the new curriculum then, it offers us an opportunity to look at our local history. And with the emphasis on working as clusters, rather than individual schools, I'd really encourage you as teachers then to come in to speak to archivists, to speak to museum curators, to speak to librarians and develop maybe units of work where you can work together then in order to share the workload. You also might not consider your local museum to give you an insight into Cynefin, for example the Egyptology department in Swansea. But once you go in there, why is there an Egyptology department in Swansea? Who were the Indiana Joneses of Swansea that left in order to collect this information and to bring it back to Swansea? I think each one of these stories is vitally important and provides us a deeper understanding of Welsh history for our learners here in Wales.